lights out, high till it's bright out.
Hello and welcome back to Hammer Time Podcast. Today we have a very, very, very special guest, NFL Hall of Famer, NFL Player of the Year, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, an 8-time Pro Bowler, and I'm sure there's much more accolades after that. His name, Brian Urlacher. Played with Chicago Bears his whole career, Hall of Famer, NFL legend, and just a complete all-around fun guy to talk to, too. We talked just about everything you could think of for the NFL. It was a really good time. Somehow, I was calm as could be. And yeah, I just really, really had a good time interviewing him. I really appreciate you guys listening. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and follow Brian on Instagram and Twitter. Check out Hammer Time Podcast on Spotify, and check out my videos on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this awesome video with Brian Urlacher. All right, let's go. Right, I would like to welcome on, this is my Hey Look Mom, I Made It moment. I have NFL Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher on the podcast today. Brian, how are you?
I am doing well, okay? Thanks for having me on, dude. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. This is just absolutely insane to have someone of your stature on, and especially one of my favorite players of all time.
I appreciate that, man. I always like hearing that from people. And you said you don't have a favorite team. You're a fan of the game, you said.
Yes, sir.
That's
love
good.
sports.
I'm a fan of the game, too. I like watching football.
So, speaking of football, you played a little bit, maybe the NFL, if you heard of it.
Yeah.
You're an 8-time Pro Bowler, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, on the 2000s All-Decades team, and NFL Player of the Year. Now, which of those that I just mentioned, which of those would you want to be known for if you had to pick one as your only title?
That's tough, man. I'll probably go for the all-decade team.
Yeah.
I just think that shows how consistent you are over a long period of time. You know, it's a 10-year span there. I was drafted in 2000, so it worked out perfect. 2000, 2012 was my career. So I had 10 years there where I felt like I was pretty consistent and pretty decent. So I think that's the one that I would choose over all the other ones.
So, playing in Chicago, you played against two of, some people arguably say, are the top 10 quarterbacks of all time in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Where do you have them? Do you see Aaron as a better opponent or Brett Favre as a better opponent for yourself?
And they're both such great competitors. You know, growing up as a kid, I was a Brett Favre fan.
Yeah.
I liked the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys always played against the Packers in the playoffs or in the Reds or whatever. And I just liked the way he played. So getting a chance to play against him until he retired, or until he went to Minnesota, wherever he went first, his first thing was unbelievable, you know, because I was a huge fan. He's such a competitor, so fun to play against, always talking, always keeping the game fun. And then Aaron steps in and does just as good a job as Brett does. You know, they're so lucky up there in Green Bay because they've had two great quarterbacks in the last 25 years, I guess. I'd hate to choose one. I think I'm doing each of them a disservice if I pick one over the other. Aaron does things differently than Brett. Brett did some things that Aaron didn't do. Just both great players. They both win. They both won Super Bowls. They're both great leaders, and they just get the job done.
So yeah, that kind of carries over to my other question. I adore Peyton Manning. And when we talk of the top 10, 15, 5 quarterbacks of all time, you played against...
Top 5 for sure, yeah.
You played against almost the majority, considering you have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Kurt Warner, just 5 I can think of.
What about Drew Brees?
Drew Brees? Sure.
It's okay. No one ever adds Drew Brees in these conversations for some reason.
That's fair.
You know, they had this NFL 100 list of greatest players of all time, and they have the top 5 or top 10 quarterbacks. And Drew Brees holds 2 or 3 of the all-time records, and he wasn't on this list.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. You know, I know people from back in the day were great. I mean, it's hard for me to kind of respect some of those lists. We don't have him on there because the dude is awesome. He's done great every single year, and he's still doing it.
Yeah, and that is true. I never think of him when I think about that list, and I really should start because he's not just going off of accolades. He's just a very good person in general. I spoke to, I think it was Dean Blandino, and he talked about how Drew Brees is just one of the best guys he's ever been around, just as a person.
He's a great human being. You know, he does so much stuff off the field for the community, for just everyone in that community, people everywhere. He doesn't get enough credit for it. Probably does a lot of stuff you don't know about either, I'm assuming. Knowing him, he just kind of keeps it on the down low, but does it because he's a good person. I got a ton of respect for him, and what he's done on the field over his longevity of his career is phenomenal. Every year, just puts up great numbers.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal that someone can stay that consistent for such a long period of time, if he doesn't mind me saying. So yeah, of course, you obviously played with the Chicago Bears, and before that, you said you were a Cowboys fan. Are you still a Cowboys fan, or are you just all Chicago now?
So I grew up in New Mexico.
Okay.
So we watched the Cowboys on Sunday because they were our closest professional team, and they were good. It was early 90s, so they went on Super Bowl, so it was fun to like them. I'm a Bears fan right now.
Yeah.
Bears are my team. Of course I watch the Cowboys and I root for them because there's always a place in my heart for them. I kind of follow more players now, honestly. I like players, I guess similar to what
Who's
you
your
said
guy?
earlier. Yeah. Who's my guy?
Yeah.
I got about 30 of them. I like everybody. It's hard for me not to like somebody. If guys play hard and they don't do a lot of this, and they just kind of, when they score, they toss the ball back to the ref and just act like they've been there.
Barry Sanders.
I like those guys. But I also like the dances these days.
You like that?
Because now that it's not the no fun league anymore, these guys can celebrate. I like watching their dances. As long as it's not against one of my teams, I'm good to go. But yeah, the game is fun. I really enjoy watching football.
That brought me down to one of my questions was, now with the most recent, or not most recent, but a recent rule update was allowing NFL players to celebrate in the end zone more freely. Yeah. You sort of missed that cutoff. What would be would you be a, sorry about that.
Yeah, let me say, I didn't miss anything because I got no celebrations anyway.
That's what's going to be my question. Will you be a team guy or a solo guy?
Slap hands with my teammates and go to the sideline.
I
That's
got
my
you.
celebration. Or, try not to single the less I'm singled out, the better. So I would do something and just go back with my teammates because it's a team game in the end. If you watch the celebrations, they most of them have to be team oriented. The more team stuff you do after you score, the less likely you are to get fined. So I think that's a good thing. I like watching them, and things they come up with are great.
Just the team aspect is just so great, especially now when you see the electric slide and all these cool dance moves. But so this is some of the stuff just reminds me of these Any Given Sunday or any sports movies like that, which...
Oh, yeah. I was watching Varsity Blues the other day, and Tweeter was dancing in high school. The guy who got to receive the pass, the receiver in that movie. Any Given Sundays are great movies. All those football movies are awesome. They're the first ones of their time, sort of. But they're always fun to go back, especially now with all the free time we have. It's fun to watch those old movies.
That was going to be my question, was what is your favorite sports movie of all time? My friends and I debate this aggressively all the time.
Favorite sports movie of all time? That is a good question, man. I really like Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans? One of my favorite movies ever. That is a great movie. If it's on TV, I'm not changing the channel. What's the other one? The Program, when it first came out.
I've never seen that one.
So that's the old one. I think it was 96 or 97 that one came out. Try and watch that.
I will.
That's one of the first football movies that came out. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Remember the Titans.
Yeah. I'm
a big fan of Denzel Washington and the actors. And just a great movie.
Yeah, the story is incredible. It really keeps you in. My pick, I always get flack for this because you can't argue it, is I always go with Rocky IV.
Oh, man, come on. That's like everyone's list. Yeah, that's a great movie. How about the Rocky IV soundtrack, by the way?
Great. The best training montages ever.
The soundtrack is unbelievable. Yeah, that's a great movie, man. That's all. I can't change it either.
Yeah.
They should have stopped after 4, not maybe more.
No, yeah, I very much agreed. It's got except the Creed series.
I watched all of them though. I'll say that. All the Rockies are great, so I watched them all. That's for dang sure.
And then off to Creed. Creed was such a good franchise.
Good too. Yeah, really good. Yep.
So if they had to make a Brian Urlacher movie, what would the name be, and who would play Brian Urlacher?
Bro, these are tough questions, man. So, going along with Rocky IV, Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, yeah?
Bro.
That's a hell of a pick. I like that.
I think keep it going. The name of the movie, I don't know. Monsters of the Midway. How about that?
That's good.
Something like that. I don't know. People want me to, when I sign autographs, they always ask me to write Monster of the Midway. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't know if I know the exact
Midway
meaning.
Was, I guess, downtown Chicago. I'm not sure the story. I'm not good at remembering that stuff. But something to do with downtown Chicago or the airport or something. So that's why they're called Monsters Limited Way.
Okay.
There's more to the story than that.
I got
don't know how to tell the story, so I'm not going to.
So, yeah, people want you to nickname yourself, or maybe they've given you that nickname. Do you have a nickname for yourself or a childhood, something like...
You know what? So in college, my teammates called me Earl.
Why's that?
And then when I got to NFL, they called me Lack.
Okay.
So like I always know when I'm in my college teammates around, it's Earl, or my college coaches, it's Earl. And then when I'm around my NFL teammates or coaches, it's Lack.
I got you.
Those are the two names that kind of stuck with me through my football career.
So we talk about your football career, and now as you watch the NFL, the game is just, it seems like it gets faster each season. Do you have a player that you see yourself in, or a player that you think like that's, maybe you don't think that's a Brian Urlacher, but you see someone that just has your play style or has your demeanor of, this is a team sport, but I'm playing to win?
I really don't compare myself to players because there's so many good players that try to see I don't like to do that. I don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's fair to me either. Because I remember when I first got to Chicago, everyone was like, "Oh, he's going to be like Dick Buckers. He's going to be like Mike Singletary." It's not fair to them, first of all, because they're greatest of all time in that category. So there are players I love to watch. Luke Kuechly just retired. I was a big fan of watching him. He's a great football player. Tremaine Edmonds in Buffalo. Yeah. Really good football player. Young kid. I think he's only 22 years old. Bobby Wagner has been doing it for a long time up in Seattle. Just, probably the guys you would say as well as my position. But all those guys are just, they understand the football game and they're good teammates from what I hear. I think that's the most important thing is they're good teammates and good men. Yeah.
I see that a lot of times when a team isn't just gelling like that. It's just, you can tell just by watching the sport that there's one guy over on his own trying to do his own thing, but once they all click, it's just a different team mentality.
It's hard to do that on defense. Most of the time it's the other side of the ball. If it has those issues, you got the receivers so every once in a while you get those guys who get a little mouthy. But defensively, man, most of the time guys get along pretty well on defense. You don't see a lot of issues outside of football.
So I've only had, let me think here. I believe I've only had one former NFL player on. His name is Paul Palmer, played at Temple. I asked him, did he have an NFL, welcome to the NFL rookie moment? And he said yes. Did you have a moment like that? In practice or in game?
Yeah, mine was in preseason by one of my teammates. I screwed up a blitz, and they ran, it was a preseason game, thank goodness they didn't have it. I screwed up a blitz, and they ran for like 25 yards. And one of my teammates let me know all about it. He said, I don't give a if you're a rookie, a first-round pick, this or that, I don't care. Get in your gap and do your job. So I guess that was my kind of welcome to the NFL. You're not in college anymore. Do your job. Do the right thing. Physically, I don't feel like I have, thank goodness I didn't have one of those moments, but mentally, it was a huge adjustment trying to get used to the speed of the game and how fast adjustments have to happen on that level.
And as a linebacker, you're sort of I guess you could say the quarterback of the defense for most defenses. And I hate to compare myself to someone like you, but as a position of the linebacker, I'm a goalie in lacrosse. And I think the same mentality sort of just there's so many things going on.
Communication, right? You got to always communicate to everybody.
Talking all the time.
Yeah.
So what do you think as just a lead defender could every sport take off of, just communication or camaraderie? What?
The biggest thing for me is communication, man. If you're all on the same page, so I always used to say this, as long as we were all on the same page, it didn't matter what defense. Coach could have called something, and I called something different, but as long as all 11 guys play the wrong defense, we're all right.
Yeah.
You can't have 10 guys playing one thing and one guy playing the wrong thing, because then you're wrong. You're going to miss a gap or a coverage. So I feel like communication is the biggest thing, is getting guys lined up. Where's the close call? Where's the check? There's so many things that happen pre-snap in the NFL that you got to all be on the same page for. So I think communication, like you said, is a big deal when you're trying to lead a defense.
Yeah, it's such a fun experience being able to just say something and have the guy to your left and right go, he understands and he's doing exactly what you pictured. And
at the end of my career, I could just look at Lance and he would know exactly what to do. There'd be a check and I'd just be like, I'll be like, Boogie. And he'd be like, yep, got it. Yeah. We didn't have to say anything. We just make a little eye contact. And as long as we made eye contact, we knew exactly what the check was or what the other guy was going to do. We played beside each other for 10 years. So we should have some pretty good rapport when it comes to that.
So you're a Hall of Famer, which is just amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a little
Thank
late,
you.
but congratulations.
Thank you.
What was just that experience like? When did it hit you as soon as he came knocking on your door and welcomed you to the Hall of Fame, or was it during your speech, days after? Tell me about that.
There's so much build up to that moment of the knock on the door because you don't know if you're going to get it or not. There's such a huge, because I think there's 12 or 15 guys at the Super Bowl waiting to get that knock on your door. And I had my children there, I had my wife, I had a couple buddies in my room. And it's kind of like you don't want to let them down. Honestly, it's like, okay, I hope I get in this time because I don't want to let anyone down. But I think once they knock, it's kind of like a huge relief. You're like, okay, I made it. But at the same time, then you're like, okay, now I got to get ready for my speech.
Yeah.
And you have, I think, from there until August, 6 or 7 months to prepare to do your speech, to get everyone there for your party. It's just such a whirlwind of emotions. And then once you get to Canton and get going, you don't rest. You're going the whole time. You never slow down. You're doing things the whole time. But I think once I gave my speech, I think that's when it hit me. When I actually got a chance to sit down and relax and watch the other guys' speeches, I think that's when I was like, okay, you made it. I think once all that stuff was behind me and I could relax and enjoy everything else that was going on around me, that was when I really started enjoying the moment.
So, as a Pennsylvania guy, my mother's a big Steelers fan, and I
So was my wife.
remember seeing the photo of you and Jerome Bettis. He claims
That's not a good picture for me, okay?
he claims he trucked you, and I heard that you guys would bicker
claims-
back and forth.
Look at the picture.
I heard a story, and I wanted to hear if you guys
You've
would.
seen the picture, right?
I have seen the picture.
So what do you think happened?
I think that you slipped and you were bringing him down.
Well, you're a super nice guy. I slipped with, you know what happened? I think I slipped when he put his helmet right in my chin, and I fell backwards. I slipped and fell right on my back because he was 270 pounds running over.
No, yeah, they gave you the wrong cleats.
Man. Yeah, well, I should have been wearing the right ones. It was my 6th year. I should know what to wear. But, dude, I mean, if you play this game long enough, it's going to happen.
Oh, no, yeah.
That's all there is to it. I'm not embarrassed by it. Let me say this. He wasn't the only guy to run over me. My career happened to me plenty of times. So, he's in the Hall of Fame, so I'm okay with that situation.
That's really such a hard mentality to have, but once you have it, it is the greatest thing in the world. Just knowing that, I'm going to get trucked. I'm going to let a goal in. I'm going to miss. I'm going to throw a ball. I'm going to strike out. But once you get that, I feel like an athlete takes such a higher level compared to everyone else that's worried about striking out or worried about letting a goal in.
Failure's part of every sport.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be successful until you fail. I don't feel like you have to be good. You can't always be good all the time. You're going to fail sometimes. You're going to miss shots. You're going to miss tackles. You're going to throw picks. That's just football, basketball, lacrosse, whatever game you play. You're going to fail. You're not going to be successful on every single play. So I think the faster you can put those plays out of your mind and go on to the next play, you're going to be the much better off you'll be.
So yeah, you and I both mentioned other sports. Is there any other sport that Brian Urlacher just loves to play? Are you a big golf guy, basketball? Yeah. Tell me.
Now I'm a big golf guy.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was a kid, I loved basketball more than football.
Oh yeah.
I thought I was good. I wasn't that good, but I thought I was good. But now it's golf. I think with the shape my body's in these days, I can't really play too much basketball. But I love golf, man. I probably play 5 or 6 days a week here in Arizona, so I enjoy it.
Did you see the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, and who was it? Phil Mickelson? Was he in that too?
I heard about it. I don't really do a lot of social media stuff. I don't really watch a lot of that stuff, and I think that's where most of it came out. Yeah. And I haven't watched a lot of sports. I haven't seen it either. Because there's nothing to watch right now. So I have someone told me about it one day on the golf course, but that's about as much I've heard about it.
What's your best game?
My best game? What do you mean, football-wise?
No, for golf. What's your best game you golfed?
My best round?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not a big golf guy.
Sorry, I can tell by the way. You're worried about it. So I've shot 69 twice, which is 3 under par at the golf course I played at, which was really good for me. So that was 4 years ago. I haven't sniffed it since. So I've gradually gotten worse over the last few years. I don't know why. The more I play, the worse I get.
So yeah, I misspoke there. Not a big golf guy, so I'll take that.
Okay, yeah.
That brought me to another question of: do you have a favorite memory in the NFL? Just of maybe a tackle, an interception, a team play, whatever it would be.
So my favorite memories are with my teammates.
Yeah.
The plays are this and that. That's just part of doing your job. But the time I spent with my teammates, whether it was on the sideline during the games, the locker room, during practice, during the week, or just sitting there on the sideline while during practice, sitting there screwing around the sideline while the offense is doing their stuff and we're waiting to do our stuff. Most of my great memories come from that, man. Just hanging out with the guys, whether it be in the weight room or the stupid games we played in the locker room, dodgeball, baseball. There's so much dumb stuff that we got away with that are great memories to me.
That's great. That's so cool. Just, yeah, honestly, when I think about that, I ask myself that question too. It's just everything. You can think of times when you're with your friends or teammates, and it just makes everything better and the whole experience better.
Yeah, everyone remembers plays differently. I remember a play that someone else made or that I made, and they remember it differently. So it's fun to talk about that, but we all remember the situations in the locker room or the sideline or what we saw. We all remember those pretty much the same because we all had a pretty good point of view on them.
Yeah. So, yeah, you played in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry, but...
Yeah, we didn't play good enough to win. That's what happened,
Okay.
though. Lost to your boy Peyton, though, so it's not too big of too bad of a deal, I guess.
Not for me, but I'm sure just the experience of a Super Bowl. Could you just walk me maybe just something that always sticks to you of like when you think of that, it's like that's the Super Bowl right there.
Dude, just the week leading up to the game, man. There's so much hoopla around that game, and you're on a schedule every day. You have to talk to the media every day at a certain time. You have stuff where you get practice, meetings. It's different from anything you practice or do during the regular season.
I got it.
Or playoffs, right? It's crazy, man. The stuff that they, just the hoopla and the media hype around it. I've never seen as much media in one place as I did at Media Day at Super Bowl week. It's just crazy how much people care about that game. It's a big game. And it's very publicized, televised. I know I get all that, but it's just the whole week was awesome. It was fun. We lost the game, but the experience and just that whole week of being there with my teammates and coaches and my family was there just was really cool.
That's so cool. Just even the experience of, I'm sure even as a fan it's cool, but obviously of you it's a little different through the face
mask.
mask.
A good job in the cities of blowing up, like just having stuff to do for everyone. You can we go to Super Bowl sometimes, and during the week we have some appearances or whatever, and we walk around and just see all the stuff they have going on. And as a fan, there's so much stuff for you to do and participate in that you normally wouldn't get to be able to do. So it's pretty cool in that aspect.
That's just, I couldn't even imagine. But
yeah, tons of stuff.
We're now on to some fun questions I have prepared. So,
all right.
I always ask, whenever I have a Philly guest on, I always ask them Philly food questions. You're obviously not from Philly, but Chicago is famous for a certain type of dish, a deep dish pizza. Are you a deep dish guy?
So, this is embarrassing. I grew up in New Mexico, so I'm not a huge deep dish guy. I like Pizza Hut growing up, man. That was my pizza. And I still get it today. My favorite pizza in Chicago is Aurelio's Pizza.
Okay.
And it's not really a deep dish. They can make a deep dish, but I don't like the super thick crust. But Aurelio's is great. There's some great food in Chicago. That's what I miss about it. We live in Arizona now, but I miss the food and just the people there were great the whole time I was there.
Yeah. Did you ever get to have an interaction with those? I'm sorry, the name I don't know, but the guys the DeBears guys?
The Grabowskis?
Yeah.
I've never met those guys, the Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah.
DeBears. That was one of my favorite skits. Even before I got to Chicago, that was a great skit. But I never got a chance to meet any of those guys. Obviously, I met Coach Ditka. Been around him a whole bunch, but never got to meet the guys who did the skit.
What's a Coach Ditka experience like? Does he just command the room, or is he quiet? Like, what's a Coach Ditka?
When Coach Ditka walks into a room, you know it.
Yeah,
because
you're actually. Go ahead.
Not that he's overbearing. He just people are like, that's Coach Ditka.
Yeah.
He has such a presence, and he doesn't even do anything. It's just like, that's Coach Ditka. Yeah, he kind of commands and this respect from people that it's like, man, that's the coach right there.
Yeah.
So when he walks in, people know, people pay attention.
You're actually resting on a Coach Ditka autographed ball.
Oh, very nice.
On my desk, yeah, big
He's got
Ditka
a nice
guy.
autograph, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Nice
Very
autograph.
beautiful.
I like his autograph.
Yeah, very clean. It's better than some of those just
nice.
squiggly lines. You don't even know what it is.
Isn't Coach Ditka a Pennsylvania guy?
He might be.
Is he Aliquippa?
Oh, yeah, I'll look it up right now.
I think Coach Dicka's from Aliquippa. I think. Make sure. I don't want to be wrong.
No, that's all right. I'm wrong a lot.
So am I. I'm told by my family.
Carnegie.
Is that Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, at least I got that right.
Yeah. Better than I would have done.
My linebacker coach, Bob Babbage, went to Aliquippa High School
Okay.
he's from Aliquippa. I'm not sure what the high school's name is, but so we always heard about the players that were from there. Ty Law. I want to say Coach Dick is from around that area. I'm not sure. I think Darrell Revis is from there as well. So there's some pretty good players that come from that area.
Pennsylvania, I believe it was I think it was in the teens for draft picks this year. I want to say it was 13, but
there, I wouldn't be surprised. They have really good football players there.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm wrong a lot, so 13 could be a number that I just
here,
like.
Bro.
But
it's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta be wrong before you're right.
So yeah, my final, I guess, question is, my friends and I, we just started a new show. We're gonna record tonight. It's called Cold Takes, where we're gonna zoom in, I think, if I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about, tonight is our favorite sports movies, and we're all gonna discuss why and argue, I guess. But as a big Brian Urlacher fan, I would love for you to give me and my friends a topic to discuss on the second episode.
On the second episode, a topic to discuss. And it's all sports. Doesn't matter what sport.
It could be sports, it could be food, it could be whatever you want.
Dude, so are you a hockey fan, Cole?
No, I'm not really.
Dude, so I'm not. I didn't grow up watching hockey. I'm not a hockey fan, but I am a fan. Have you ever seen the movie Miracle?
I love that movie.
Dude, that movie. That people don't talk. I don't feel like that gets enough play or enough talk.
I can't stop talking about
Every
it.
time I watch that movie, I get chills. I'm like, ugh. And I don't know
Tonight,
why I'm
you're the
up in my
greatest
head right
hockey
now, but-
team. Like, oh,
Yeah,
the best.
That's like the biggest upset in the history of the world.
Yeah.
So, they beat the Russians, right?
Yeah, USSR.
Anyway, that movie right there, man, that's another great movie I forgot to talk about, too, when you asked me.
Yeah, that was between
that's
Rocky
how I can't
IV
change it.
and that one for mine. But
It's
they're
just-
the same premise. It ended the Cold War. Find me another
Yes,
sports movie that
right,
ended
yeah.
a U.S. conflict. You can't argue that.
Unbelievable that movie. So maybe talk about that movie in your second one, or pick a different sports movie every episode possible.
Okay.
How about that?
Just keep.
Maybe not, I don't know. That way you can kind of get you some range there of
Yeah.
sports that you
And then
you can
get
do some research.
a
and
nice
talk
watch
about.
list going too.
Yeah, that is a great movie.
But yeah, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. This
I'm
has
glad
been
you asked. I appreciate it, man.
such a pleasure. Like this is like so crazy for me. I don't know how. This is probably the most relaxed I've ever been, and I don't know how. Yeah.
You did a good job, man. You had some good questions ready for me. I feel like we flowed pretty well during
Yeah.
our little chat here.
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks for having me out, Cole.
Yeah. This is awesome. Thank you
luck,
so
buddy.
much.
Take care, man.
Bye. Oh my gosh, Brian Urlacher, everybody. Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah, I don't know how I was so relaxed. Probably, yeah, top 5 moment of my life right there. Hall of Famer, 8-time Pro Bowler, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2000s All-Decades Team, NFL Player of the Year. I mean, you can't stop. The list goes on. The guy's great. Clearly just a friend now. I guess we're friends. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, I had Brian Urlacher on the podcast today. Yeah, new show we're coming out called Cold Takes with me, Jake McLean, and Caleb Fanoff. We will hopefully have a guest on. Maybe Brian will come on there, some other guys, maybe even one of you guys. Yeah, so let us know in the comments some topics to discuss for the upcoming show. Also, share this with your friends because I just interviewed a Hall of Famer. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so really, really, really would like to thank Brian Urlacher for coming on. This has been such an awesome experience, and just to be able to say that I sat down for 30 minutes and talked with Brian Urlacher about sports movies, deep dish pizza, and his NFL career is pretty damn cool. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for listening. I'd like to thank Brian for coming on, and I'd like to, go check me out on Spotify. Yeah, check Hammer Time Podcast is now on Spotify, Google Podcast. It's also going to be on Apple Podcasts very soon. And yeah, that really does it for me tonight on this episode of Hammer Time Podcast with Brian freaking Urlacher. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I hope you all enjoyed. Like, subscribe, share, follow, do everything.
Stay right
Thanks,
here.
everybody. Have a good night.
Forever and ever and ever and ever. Come on. We ain't going nowhere. We gonna stay right here. We ain't going nowhere. We gonna stay right here.
Going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped now, 'cause it's bad boy for life.